At the other end of Cognac Street was the Wing family. Today they are buried beside an apple orchard. And if you didn't know any better, you would think that this was just a lovely little graveyard for early settlers in the townships in a very bucolic setting. Cognac Street had several competing gangs, but the biggest rivalry was between the Gleason gang and the Wing family. Actually, it was the counterfeiting firm of Wing and Crane. Much like the Canadian counterfeiting company of Gleason and Page, Turner Wing was in business with William Crane, who was one of the more skilled engravers affiliated with this Dunham gang. By the 1830s, an extensive network of wholesalers, distributors, and dealers looked to both gangs to supply them with money. This is the gravestone of Turner Wing, 1768 to 1832, 63 years, 2 months, and 10 days, and his wife Dorothy Whitcomb Wing. He's here with other family members too, and you can bet they were all counterfeiters. Leon Lalande, the local magistrate of this region, arrested Turner Wing's partner, Mr. Crane, in January 1818 for counterfeiting. In his report, he detailed the various things that had been seized at the Wing and Crane firm, including hundreds of false banknotes and a variety of engraving tools and rolling presses. You would think that Crane was a classic example of an open and shut case, but he is actually an amazing example of just how difficult it was to prosecute and convict the counterfeiters at this time. William Crane was taken to Montreal by 6 members of the army so that he couldn't escape during the 2 weeks it took to get him there. Shortly thereafter, Turner Wing posted the £50 necessary to bail Crane out, and Crane failed to show up in court the following year to be indicted on the charges of forgery. So he was taken again by the army back to Montreal, and he simply disappeared again once Turner Wing bailed him out one more time. Lalande tried one last time to arrest Crane, but Crane barred every door and window in his house and swore he would shoot anyone that would attempt to enter. Stymied, Lalande watched as Crane then blew a trumpet and fired 3 shots into the air, which was a signal for mustering all of the associates of the Wing family. Of course, at the head was Turner Wing, who threatened to kill anyone who would approach him. They all went up to the windows and rescued Mr. Crane and all of the incriminating materials and fled into the forest. The Montreal officials that did come to help arrest Crane and Wing ended up arresting informants and undercover agents by mistake. We can't imagine the chaos that went on this road in the 1820s and 30s. The Wing and Crane gang fought the Gleason and Page gang for 20 years to control the greater share of the market. Although the Wing and Crane gang operated a good business, it was really the Gleason gang with Seneca Page that assumed the largest market share. For 20 years on this road, there were violent attacks on rival gang members, and patrols watched the woods and guarded their sectors. Unbelievable. The conflict erupted in an all-out gang war in 1824. According to accounts, Turner Wing and William Crane led their forces through the forest to the other end of Cognac Street in the middle of the night, armed with rifles, swords, and pistols. They attacked the Gleasons at dawn in a blaze of gunfire. Buildings were burned and they were raided, and the supplies were carried off, including $4,000 in counterfeit notes, all the tools and the presses. And they even took people prisoner, including Seneca Page's father, who was working the presses when they arrived. The victory proved fleeting, though, as the Gleasons returned the favor and attacked the Wing compound in an attack so powerful it resulted in an overthrow of the Wing and Crane enterprises and the return of all the equipment and dear old Dad. An uneasy peace settled on Cognac Street after this episode, and though the Gleasons dominated the business, they tolerated the now much smaller competition from the Wing family. Turner Wing died in 1833, just before the big raid on Cognac Street. While he had 6 sons, including Turner Jr., Jason, Stephen, Thomas, and Ward, it was his youngest son Benjamin that followed in his father's footsteps and took control of the enterprise in the 1830s. Benjamin Wing was married to Isabella Jones from Hatley, and her father was a Cognacer too. Both Benjamin and his father-in-law were picked up in the raids on Cognac Street in 1833, when the sheriffs and constables and all the magistrates from both sides of the border came onto the street to arrest all of the counterfeiters. The raid was really a one-time event. It was too great an expense getting people to and from Montreal to testify, so while local officials could initiate proceedings against the counterfeiters like Turner Wing, they were outnumbered by heavily armed criminals. In any event, the counterfeiters could just simply slip across the border where there was no extradition treaty. This is what William Crane did after his partner Turner Wing died, and he started his trade on the other side of the border. By the 1830s, Cognac Street began to lose its hold on the market. Urban dealers and wholesalers began to commission counterfeits closer to home. Rest well, Mr. Wing. You fought super hard for the money that you made. So I won't even look at the camera. I'll look up after and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
No.